So, as you know, Indians wrote on a lot of things. It can be mud tablets, it can be stones, it can be pillars, it can be copper plate, it can be birch bark, paper, etc. So, we are going to look into the oldest mediums where the Indians wrote. Okay, we are going to go through a nice timeline, especially focusing on the ancient history where the ancient Indians wrote. So let's start with the Harappan seal. So this is the oldest medium where we wrote. So let me take you back 2600 BC, that is almost 4600 years ago. As you can see, here is a gentleman from Indus Valley and he is scribbling something on the script and his wife or his sister is assisting him. So this tablet is made from baked mud or steatite. Now steatite is a stone that can be easily carved and can be hardened by heat. So we will discuss about the stone and rest of the details in the Harappan civilization chapters. So this is the area where the Harappan civilization flourished, and as you can see, some of the areas is also in Pakistan. And these seals are found in almost all the places of the Harappan civilization. Now the interesting thing that you have to understand is the writing on the seals is undeciphered, which means we can't understand what is written or we can't read it. And the writing is called as pictograph. Pictograph basically means pictures to convey a message. So as you can see, this is the current India and these seals can be still excavated from these sites. So we will study again more in the Harappan civilization chapter. So now after Harappa, we have the Rigvedic period. So this period is around 1500 BC or 3500 years ago. As you can see in the video, these Rigvedic rishis or Rigvedic Aryans, they are chanting some Rigvedic verses. Now this video is important because this convey a very specific message. The Rigvedic Aryans didn't write anything. All the knowledge from one generation to the other was passed through listening. There was no written text. So as I mentioned, the Rigvedic Aryans were settled around these rivers, right? The early Rigvedic Aryans, they were settled around these rivers, the Indus and its tributaries. So you have to understand a very important thing. In case of Harappans, their text was written, but we can't read it. In case of Rigvedic Aryans, there was no written text. Everything was passed from one generation to the other through hearing and listening. It means orally it was transferred. So this is Rigveda. This was written around 500 BC. That is around 2500 years ago. So basically, if someone says 500 BC, you just add 2000 years to it. We will learn this in our upcoming chapters. So for the time being, you have to understand, Harappans around 4500 years ago had written stuff, but it is not deciphered. While Aryans 3500 years ago orally transmitted all the knowledge, but they didn't write anything. Simply put, only after 1000 years after Rigveda was created, it was written down. Now after the Harappans and the Rigvedic period comes the megalithic period. So what are megaliths? So megaliths are essentially large stones that actually forms a prehistoric monument. For example, you have the Stone Age. So some ancient civilization in UK decided to put some big rocks in a circle and this is now a monument. That's all. So that's a megalith. So Indians also had their megalithic phase. It is not famous, but it is important for UPSC. There's a separate chapter on this. So as you can see in the video, the women are offering grains and flowers and men are unhappy. This is because essentially in India, people used to bury their loved ones around these megaliths. Okay, so that's why the people are sad because someone has died and they are giving their respects, final respects. And as you can see in the back, there is a big megalith. So people used to inscribe, many things on these megaliths. They used to write good stuff on these megalith, not stuff like this. These are nonsense. Right. So megaliths are mostly located in South India. This is from the Mahajanapada period. And as you can see, there are 16 Mahajanapadas. And in the red are the areas where the people who built these megaliths lived. Now, the interesting thing that you have to understand is the megaliths are quite old. I mean, they started working on these stone structures around 3000 years ago. There are around a lot of megaliths. It can't be like numbered. There are so many. They are mostly located in South India in jungles. Now, the interesting thing that you have to understand that the language here is partly undeciphered. It is Proto-Tamil. It means it's a primitive form of Tamil. So the overall conclusion is the Harappans had a script, but no one can read it. The Rigvedic Aryans did not write, and the Rigveda was written down thousands of years later. Now the people who built these megaliths had some written stuff going on, but it is partly undeciphered. Most likely it's an ancient Tamil, Proto-Tamil. So now we have the Mauryan inscriptions, specifically King Ashoka's inscription. So as you can see, this is the video of Emperor Ashoka guiding and managing the sculptures. So this is the Mauryan Empire under the King Ashoka. So King Ashoka, in the initial days, he was a horrible person. He killed a lot of people in a war and he was sad. So he started building many pillars like this. And he put it around the whole country. And he wrote many good things on the pillars like, let's be peaceful, let's be good people, let's be Buddhist, let's not kill even the animals, let's go vegan and all that stuff. Now he was forgotten for thousands of years. Then a Britisher called as James Prinsep discovered his inscription in 1837. So the important thing here is, this is the first inscription that we can actually read. It means it is deciphered. First written ancient record that is deciphered. Now there is a small confusion. As you can see, this is a small copper plate and this is called as Sohagora copper inscription. Now this copper inscription was made by Ashoka's grandfather, who is known as Chandragupta Maurya. He is the founder of Mauryan dynasty. Now this inscription is almost 50 years older than Ashoka's inscription. And this inscription is also deciphered. So technically, this is the first known oldest deciphered inscription in India. So this is how the ancient guys used to inscribe on copper plates. So now let's go back to the timeline. So we have the Harappans who wrote a lot of stuff, but none of it is deciphered. Then we have the Rigvedic period. They didn't write anything, they just orally transmitted the knowledge. This knowledge was later written down during the Mahajanapadas or the Mauryan period. Then we have the Megalithic period, where they wrote inscriptions on the big stone, but it is partly deciphered. It is also Proto-Tamil, so we can't really understand what's going on. And then we have the Mauryan phase, where King Ashoka wrote a lot of inscriptions on pillars and copper plates, and pretty much everything is deciphered. Now, due to Ashoka, the Buddhism spread. As it spread to Gandhara and northwest, Buddhism was a new trend. So monks in Gandhara wrote this. This is called as the Gandharan manuscript. As you can see, this is a Buddhist monk who is writing this particular script. This is not paper. It is made from the bark of birk tree. And the place is Gandhara. It was written in 1st century BC or AD, almost 2000 years ago. Imagine not getting decomposed despite writing on the bark of a tree. It was written in Prakrit. Again, this is something you won't understand. You will understand in the language chapter of this course. Now we have another manuscript. It is called as the Gilgit manuscript. Now Gilgit is a cold place, and this Buddhist guy is writing the Gilgit manuscript in a cold evening. So on the map you can see the Gilgit. This is the manuscript. It was written in 5th century AD, means 1500 years ago. Now this is also written on the birch bark. So while this guy was writing this manuscript, this was the Indian polity during those times. As you can see, it is fragmented. There were a lot of kingdoms, right?